Hello and welcome to the eCom Live podcast, brought to you by 5874 Commerce, taking you on a deep dive into the crazy world of e-commerce. My name is Rupert Cross. I'm the Chief Digital Officer here at 5874. We're a global commerce agency headquartered in Birmingham with offices in London and Austin, Texas. We specialize in building beautiful, functional and scalable e-commerce websites, bespoke integrations and digital transformation projects. Today, we're going to be talking about building a scalable e-commerce business, what that means, some of the things to consider, some not, hopefully sharing some of the experiences of insights from our great panel. With that in mind, I'm pleased to introduce our guest for this week, Phil McKeith from Yumi International, a London-based fashion brand, Mark Howes from BigCommerce, one of the world's leading e-commerce platforms for all stages of growth, Andrew Thompson from Linnworks, a best-of-breed channel and inventory order management system. Gents, welcome. Thanks for taking the time to come on. The idea of the podcast is we have a chat around a topic, keep it lighthearted and share some of your insights and experiences. Why don't we start with you all telling us a bit more about yourselves and your respective businesses. So Phil, why don't you kick us off?
So thank you for that, Rupert. So yeah, my name's Phil McKeith and I'm the head of e-commerce for Yumi International. Yumi International is a women's fashion brand which started in Camden, London, probably about 20 years ago now, and I have been with the organisation for the past 4 years. And I went in there originally to get their direct-to-consumer channel as a profitable channel, first of all, and to scale it up to be one of their biggest channels. So effectively, that's what I've done for the past 4 years, and I've been working with Rupert for the past 3 years when we replatform from Demandware to BigCommerce. And I think that probably covers me, Rupert.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Phil. You've segued me beautifully in this. Obviously, we've known each other for a few years now, and I introduced you to the guys at BigCommerce. So, Mark, over to you. Why don't you introduce yourself and BC?
Thanks, Rupert. Hi, everybody. So my name's Mark. I'm a senior account executive at the BigCommerce team here in London. I joined back in 2018 now as the first sales hire actually in Europe. And I feel like I've blinked and all of a sudden we're now kind of 2 years down the road in a much bigger team. BigCommerce is a software as a service e-commerce platform that's aimed at serving merchants at all stages of their growth. So whether that's small business looking to get online for the first time or a mature enterprise that's looking to continue to scale. The platform focuses on our openness of the platform and how that then integrates into other best of breed tools like Linnworks, for example.
Perfect, cool. So Andrew, great to have you. Why don't you tell us a bit about Linnworks and yourself?
Sure, yeah. Firstly, thanks for having us, Rupert. So my name is Andrew Thompson. I'm the partner manager at Linnworks. So Linnworks is an inventory and order management system. As a company, we've been around for about 12 years or so. And we work with around 4,000 brands and retailers around the world who are typically selling online, multi-channel, on the likes of platforms such as BigCommerce. And my specific role is to build out our kind of partnerships with agencies like yourselves at 5874 and the technical ecosystem, again, including BigCommerce.
Perfect, cool. So, I mean, obviously, we've got an existing relationship with all three of you guys, so we know quite a bit about it, and I know that obviously all three of your businesses are set to scale. So, I mean, I guess Phil, I'm going to throw this over to you first, really, because I think it will help to set some context around it. But I mean, obviously, you touched on it a bit in your intro that when you came to Yumi, it was around a transformation, and obviously setting a concrete foundation to then scale on top of. So, what does a scalable e-commerce business mean to you, and what were you looking to do when you kind of dropped in the role?
Yeah, so sure. So when I first arrived at Yumi, they had invested quite a lot of cash into operational costs. So they spent a lot of money on infrastructure, different ERP systems, e-commerce systems, and the like. And one of the things that I noticed, first of all, that the majority of the investment of the P&L was going into infrastructure. And so I identified that I needed to shift it from infrastructure to marketing. There was, I guess, a lack of an understanding of how direct-to-consumer relationships are and how much it costs to acquire a customer. And if you effectively buy the infrastructure and invest in the infrastructure, that in itself would create the scalable sales on a direct-to-consumer, which is not really the case
So, Mark, with that in mind, obviously Yumi moved to BigCommerce from Demandware or Salesforce Commerce Cloud as it is now. I mean, obviously, I know the whys and wherefores because I was part of the team that put that in. But why didn't you give the inside track on why BC was the right fit for Yumi?
Certainly. When it comes to scalability with BigCommerce, I think what's important to note is that the scalability of the platform is delivered. It's not one that you have to kind of prepare for. You don't have to notify us about it. You can just begin to scale, and the platform will scale with you as you do that. I think what's evident about our ability to scale has actually been proven during this pandemic. I mean, the COVID-19 impact on e-commerce has been enormous. And from the start of March, everyone's seeing that e-commerce stores have grown to lengths and kind of areas that are well beyond what was seen during last year's peak. And I think actually Bank of America released some stats a couple of months ago now, actually in April time, that talked about the fact that e-commerce was growing at a rate of 25% year over year during COVID. I mean, BigCommerce merchants were at 25% pre-COVID. During this pandemic, actually, in the aggregate, across 65,000 merchants that are on the platform, those numbers have been significantly higher. In fact, in April, we had multiple days where in the aggregate, the growth rate was well over 100%. So from a platform perspective, that wasn't anything we planned for. We obviously didn't see that was going to be coming. And we're now at a point where we're so well architected from a technical perspective, in partnership with our partners at the Google Cloud Platform and various others, that from a platform perspective, our merchants can sleep easily at night knowing we're just going to deliver. And I think that also helps out for our agency partners and technology partners as well, because knowing that the core commerce platform that really underpins most of the e-commerce environments that merchants operate on, knowing that that's truly just delivered and there to scale, I think give everyone a much easier kind of time.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, Andrew, I mean, you guys integrate into many more marketplaces than just BigCommerce. There's Amazon, eBay, Frugo, and stuff like that. I mean, I know some insights because I did a webinar a few months ago with Jason, your GM in North America. How you guys found it? And like I said, I guess it's being a SaaS platform. It's helpful that you guys can just elastically scale as well.
Yeah, I mean, the same situation. Obviously, no one saw this coming, but what we've seen is, record-breaking figures in terms of, sales and the GMV going through the platform. And again, during that time, our customers, there's been no kind of downtime whatsoever in terms of the system. But it's also really shone the torch on the e-commerce multi-channel marketplace strategies for customers, particularly as, we've seen the consumers spending a lot more time. I know, I have personally online during this time and looking to buy product wherever, whenever. So we've seen a lot of companies that might have, been looking at the e-commerce element of their business at some stage in their plans, but this has really shunted it down at this right, ultimately to the top of the pile.
Yeah, have you seen many people come on and they've need to do it fast and they've just needed to get live? Some of these traditional B2B merchants, maybe someone's had a shop somewhere. Have you seen people getting in touch with you for that?
Yeah, in the hundreds as well, because people have suddenly realized if they've got no online presence whatsoever, they want to go on within 24 hours, 48 hours, which obviously using our partner network we're able to do. But it's all about getting them to understand the requirements and what's actually needed for it to work. It's all going well wanting to get online and start selling, but there's obviously a lot more that comes with it, and there's a lot more involvement. And
yeah, it's interesting, that, isn't it? Particularly when you start to talk about sizes of teams and what you need to do around that. I mean, Mark, I know that when you guys when COVID was, I'll say at its peak, it was sort of pre-Easter time. I know we were part of an offer, but I mean, you guys were standing up stores in 24 hours or so, weren't you?
Yeah, definitely. We got merchants that, from a small business perspective, went live within 24 hours. We've even had some enterprise merchants that we can't go into the full details of, but in partnership with yourself, we've launched in less than a week from signing contracts on the enterprise platform, and have had record-breaking sales as a result of it. So from the platform perspective, we're more than capable of doing that. I mean, me personally, I actually created a website for my local pub that wanted to do takeaway. Had a takeaway menu, and they
desperate, Mark. You needed to get them on your own. Get them going. Or you wanted
well,
to...
yeah. I mean, I kind of had an ulterior motive of being paid in beer, but we never got to the point. I mean, I set them up a site in 2 hours using a theme that was pre-existing, linked up to a payment gateway. So when it comes to an ability to just get people live and get them transacting, I mean, we're all over it. A kind of broader scale to that. Yeah, we did this brand recently that launched in 5 days, but we also have merchants that have migrated from Magento 1 and Magento 2, including ERP integrations, in 2 weeks. So we can move as fast as the business wants to move.
Yeah, interesting. Phil, I mean, how have you found it over the COVID period? And I guess so talk us through your team and what's gone through with that, and how Yumi's generally done. Because obviously, I can't imagine your shops have been open, have they?
No, that's right. So we obviously had to shut the bricks and mortar stores. We have quite a big concession footprint with New Look as well. So obviously we kind of lost that part of the business. So what I would call the traditional part of the business suffered, quite a lot. On the flip side, the direct to consumer, the online part of the business has exceeded forecasts, has exceeded expectations, and has grown massively, over the probably past 2.5 months or however long it is. And, I think that's one of the key points, is having the infrastructure to be able to, make sure they can capitalize on the opportunities when they do come. And we all know that online's the future. I think for me, the shift has happened, that this e-commerce has been 20, 25 years probably. And all of a sudden there's been an event that's made it, that transition from that industrial era model to that digital operating model happen within 3.5 months. We all know this is the future, and we all know that the high street's going to change. We supply Debs, we supply House of Fraser, we supply John Lewis. These are our trading partners, but ultimately they're old-fashioned models, and no pun intended with that, by the way. But I think, my job's to get in front of the consumer, is to grow the direct-to-consumer sales, and it's to scale that channel up. And I feel that's what a lot of people are doing out there. And I think it's a little bit of a wrestle at the minute. I think everybody wants to get in front of the consumer and win that last mile. And it's you just got to make sure that you've got the tools, the mindset, and the opportunities to leverage that,
Yeah, absolutely. Have you? So I guess when it scales at Yumi and the sales come a running. Obviously, normally we plan ahead of things, and we know there's certain peaks in the year. Obviously, no one planned for COVID with that, and you've now got these peaks. As a retailer, what's happened to your staffing? Have you had to add 4 or 5 more staff? Have you kept it lean? What have you been able to do with that? And I guess have BC working with BC, has there been any requirements with that?
Yeah, so if I break that down, and how did we manage the transition, I guess is the crux of that question. Is so we've only got a small direct to consumer team, an online team, and effectively we moved from head office to remote working, as has any other retailer. We work like any other brand stroke retailer. We have a weekly forecast, and each channel has a sales and margin forecast, and we look at that and think, okay, what can we achieve this week, and how are we going to do that? But that model has kind of gone out the window with this kind of event. It's a case of we beat forecast consistently every week on the direct to consumer channel, so that's a plus. But we've had to increase that revenue per head count massively, and that's, I think, the difference between e-commerce and traditional retail is a revenue per employee. I can't remember what the kind of stat is for Amazon. I think Amazon's something like $350,000 per employee in terms of revenue per employee. I think traditional retail's about 90,000 per employee, bricks and mortar retail. Digital native brands like Netflix and Google and Facebook's like something like 1.6 million revenue per employee, just to give you an idea of the scale. And I think I think that's the message I've always said when it comes to infrastructure and technology and e-commerce is, obviously we don't want to talk about job losses and that kind of thing, but we can yield a higher return from a leaner team. And I think that's what, the economy's got to get its head round is, how is that going to look like? It's not going to be lots of people, doing shopkeeping administration and this kind of thing. We have to use tools and, the platforms and the microservices that are available to get a better return, in that investment. And it's a danger, but it's an opportunity as well.
Yeah,
it's what I'd say to that.
Interesting. So, I mean, I guess, so pivoting off the back of that then, Andrew, in terms of automation, what's the stuff you guys are seeing that people are doing? So if they've set up an eCom store and that they're lean on staff, they're perhaps short on a team in a social distancing environment. How are they? How's Linnworks helping them with that?
So I guess what you're talk about there is the initial worry that there is a takeaway of the human element or requirement. But what we've seen in our customers is that they've really benefited from centralizing everything. So they can see that there's better efficiency in terms of the data, the automation obviously providing the time, and then the time that's created that they're then able to spend in other areas of the business, and not necessarily that there's no requirement for that person or the role. What we've seen is customers then focusing on building essentially their brand and how they're represented across the channel and the ecosystem. And then the other thing that we've seen is people are making then data-driven decisions based off of accurate reporting, which is coming from automating those processes. So I think that's been the key factor of everyone now getting a real understanding of what is selling, why is it selling, where is it selling, and then continuing to focus on those areas.
Yeah, interesting. So, Mark, I guess one for you off this. So, in terms of someone's got their site running on BigCommerce and things like that, and they want to throw up a second site, perhaps targeting on something specifically. So whether it's they're selling alcohol products and they've been able to sell hand sanitizer or something like that during this period. Yeah. How quickly can they do that on BC and also tie it into their current infrastructure?
Very quickly. So launching an additional site is the same as launching a site from scratch. So where we talked earlier about being able to get things up and running within hours, maybe the same is true. I think the other thing that people that aren't involved with SaaS products at the minute forget is that the same platform is used by all of our 65,000 merchants globally. So when it comes to taking what you've got on one site and replicating it onto a new one, because the main core code base is the same, there's no massive rewrite that's required in order to do that. It's normally a case of, right, let's take the theme off of one, apply it onto another. One of the key messages that we deliver with our platform is the openness of it, and how from an API perspective, we're extremely accessible. So that means if we can reconnect into the same integrations from an ERP perspective, or we can plug in as an additional channel into Linnworks as another example, you can get all of that up and running with combined inventory levels, combined order management very, very seamlessly.
Cool, interesting. So, I mean, I suppose just sort of following on from that a bit, guys. I suppose Andrew, it might be for you to go first on this one, but think towards internationalisation and some of the opportunities that can come out of this, because obviously there's some retailers that are now set to scale, and I personally think there's a huge opportunity for them coming out of COVID. People aren't going to suddenly walk back into the shops and all of that, but as Mark's attested, you can spin up another site in a few minutes. You can obviously spin up another marketplace channel. How's Linnworks supporting the guys through that? Talk us through how complicated that would be to set up.
Yeah, so in this instance, we obviously have the integrations with the marketplaces in pretty much every country in the world. We've got over 100 different channels, marketplaces that our customers can utilize. Obviously, in every region, there's various different, the payment methods, the shipping methods, the kind of tax implications, listings. So what we'll do is actually work with particular partners that are outside of our. I've got someone that's cleaning the windows right where I am.
That's helpful, isn't it? It is. Out of all the things I thought we'd get got by, a window cleaner's not one of them. So cool. So I suppose why don't I throw this one over to? In fact, I'll throw it over to Phil first. I think because Obviously, Zuckerberg's made a big play at the beginning of this year, starting to talk about his views on social commerce. Phil, where do you see social commerce? And I suppose really I'm thinking around WhatsApp and Facebook and Instagram, but I guess I'm talking around that whole thing because obviously Google are then getting involved into that. Where do you see that in your future plans?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely bang on centre is the honest answer, and since I've been at Yumi, social has been one of the 4 pillars that we've introduced, which is basically the old smack it model, which is social, mobile, analytics, cloud, and that's, as I said, that's one of our pillars, and anything that goes with that. So in terms of social commerce side, I guess the key question is they've introduced this kind of, where you can do in-app purchases for a while now. I think a couple of brands, Adidas and, Calvin Klein and all the big boys, have kind of had this ability that you can do these in-app purchases. And they're now rolling out the ability, I believe, so that you can actually make a purchase within the Facebook or the social media ecosystem. Now, we know that Facebook's KPI, their P1 KPI is active users. So everything they do is not really about revenue. It's about active users and about keeping it sticky. So they don't really want people leaving their platform to go on to another platform to make a purchase. Their aim is to keep that active user high. So we know that they want the purchase to happen within their ecosystem. So we just need a way to access that port, if you like. And we've been quite successful through BigCommerce, to be able to do the, tap and the swipe up and all that kind of stuff. So you can make them in-app purchases, etc. But I feel it's going to a different place. I feel that there's a social commerce, but there's also what I would call peer-to-peer commerce. We know the marketplaces have been expanding. We've got lots of people selling our goods, second-hand goods, on Facebook marketplaces. I haven't
sold some this afternoon, not Yumi products, but she sold some stuff this afternoon on the Facebook marketplace.
Yeah, well, there you are. So I feel that it's almost like direct to consumer commerce, if you like. So, that peer-to-peer model, which PayPal and eBay have cornered for the last 20 years, I feel that you're going to have long tail sales where you're going to get all these influencers basically drop shipping for you. They're the new salespeople. They're the ones who are going to be, we have influencers contacting us every week saying, look, I'd love to sell your stuff. Good, great, get it on the feed, get our goods on there and we'll take that. But what they don't want to do, they want to do the pretty pictures, but they don't want to get involved in the infrastructure. They don't want to get involved in fulfillment. They don't want to get involved in front of house customer service. So these are the things that brands need to pick up. And I think for me, that's where the opportunities are with social commerce, to answer your question. I think we have to embrace it. We have to accept this is the future. I don't know what the commission structure is going to be, but I'm hearing it's going to be quite expensive. The traditional retail business to business or the concessions is, I think you average between 30 and 50% commission. Who knows what Facebook's going to charge or Google Shopping. At the minute, we have to pay customer acquisition costs, but my understanding is that's going to go, and we're going down this commission structure route. So they're going to take the role of the new retailers, I would say.
So, I mean, I guess, guys, the kind of final point I wanted to touch on tonight was why is investing in the correct technology vital for the business and scaling and growth? I kind of feel like we've sort of touched on it throughout this, but I mean, I guess why don't we just take a couple of minutes to I suppose just sort of sum up your kind of key points around that. So, I mean, I suppose with that in mind, Andrew, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, from our perspective, the technology is, you can have all the aspirations in the world to kind of scale and grow and ultimately grow out your business. But if you haven't got the fundamentals and the technology installed into your program, then you're going to fall over. So is looking at it and planning as much as you can do for the future and your plans and where you want to be. And again, looking back at the research element to try and work with those technology providers that facilitate that scaling element, and also ones where you're not going to outgrow, so there's no ceiling. So looking from our perspective, we won't have the situation where a customer's ever kind of outgrown Linnworks as a practice. We'll grow with the client. So yeah, I think that's one of the key things that I'd kind of push is do the research and understand the growth that your technology is going to provide.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes perfect sense. I completely agree with all that. I mean, I suppose, Mark, you'd be similar, but what's your views on it?
So my view is that replatforming at any stage in your business growth is tricky, and there's problems, and it's a disruption. And it's always got issues, right? Anyone that tells you it doesn't is lying to you. So I think for me, the decision about getting it right from the outset is fundamentally, if you want to be able to go on your growth journey without having to go through that disruption. Even if you do a quick replatform project, there's still going to be some kind of impact somewhere. And BigCommerce is very well positioned to help with that. As I said at the outset, we're a platform that supports merchants at all stages of their growth. A really good example of that is we work with a consumer packaged good company. And the original engagement with them was to enable their brands to offer a direct-to-consumer proposition to test and learn and get insight. But fundamentally, what they've found most valuable out of us working with them is that the same platform that they have brands doing this testing and learning on is also the same platform that they can migrate one of their biggest direct-to-consumer propositions to and run from. So as they invest into the platform for one of their flagship brands, what it means is that everything they build out and everything they invest can be shared amongst all of the other brands globally at all of their different scales. So the fact that this platform can do it, the fact that we're priced in a way that enables merchants to come on board quite easily with a low total cost of ownership, and then they benefit from the economy of scale because it becomes better value as they grow with BigCommerce. And then finally, beyond that, what you'll notice is that although the same platform is used by merchants of different scales, the ecosystem in which it's been implemented is what differs. So what we'll find is that someone might start to work with BigCommerce fairly out of the box to start with, but as their business grows and they want to start working with other best of breed tools like search and merch providers, or with other parts of order management systems like Linnworks, for example. Actually, the important bit is how easy it is to get that up and running and integrated. And BigCommerce's integrations with all of these partners are one-click installs. There's no big dev effort. There's no costly implementation process. There's pre-built, deep-rooted integrations. And that is actually one of the big call-outs that we had from the Forrester Wave recently. The analyst at Forrester that landed us as a strong performer called out that these deep integrated integrations are what's driving merchants' continued ability to growth, because they can focus their time and attention on leveraging new tools, not implementing.
Interesting. I wholeheartedly agree with all of that. And Phil, I'm going to tee you up for a shared for a shared mutual passion of ours. I mean, I know we've mulled about it over a beer, but modular environments, and exactly where Mark was going to there, as your business scales, you can chop things in and out. Why don't you just give us 30 seconds on your view on that?
30 seconds. Oh my God. Okay. Well, I'll do my best. I just lost 5. So yeah, going off the back of what Mark said there, my whole philosophy is best of breed, not biggest beast. And effectively, when it comes to technology and microservice and modularization, it's all about speed. How quickly can you get it live? How quickly can you swap it out? How can you get a plug and play architecture? And how can you adopt the latest technology in the quickest, most possible way? And that's the biggest challenge. I think, Rupert, I came to you 3 years ago and said, I want to re-platform and I want it done in 3 months, right? That's what I said to you. And you went, okay. And but we achieved it, right?
Yeah.
We achieved it, and we achieved it in 3 months flat. And I think, we used to go from platform migrations taking 18 months, right? I've worked on integrations at House Phrase and devs that take 18 months, 12 months, 8 months, and they never go live, yeah? So for me, that's what technology is about. It's about speed to market, and seizing the opportunities.
Well, look, thanks for your time, guys. I mean, I think with that in mind, I think Phil summed it up beautifully, and I think it's summed up where our kind of joined philosophies are with all of that. So, thanks for joining us today. Hopefully, the guys have provided some useful insights that you can all take back to your businesses. We've put links to all three guests in the comments, both their businesses and, depending on the media, the people, and we'll take it from there. There's an interesting white paper on the 5874 website where Phil, Andrew, and Mark have all contributed, talking about digital transformation and following that modular process, putting people and process before technology and trying to get the best out of it. And I suppose finally, if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you can't be good, be healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.